Hello and welcome to this video, and we're playing imanmasoom, who we've played before, I believe. Yeah, we've played a game against him before, so... Alright, so c4. And d4 coming up. If e5 by black, okay, so he doesn't stop me getting the center. Okay, now plays d5, okay, so... Yeah, interesting. Can we just take this off, and then after knight hits, can we play e4? Is that possible? e4 here? What's the knight doing? It's going back to f6. Then we can play knight c3. So we're getting the center here, I believe, unless I'm missing something. Alright, so knight c3. If e5 we can take. Okay, so now bishop b4 is possible. But we could try bishop b5 ourselves. Bishop b5. Yeah, I think that's not bad. If bishop b4... So the threat is d5 now. d5, e takes, knight takes, queen takes, queen takes, queen. So, okay, he plays this. Can we play d5 now anyway? d5, ed, knight moves, and knight goes back. Kind of like this, But on the other hand, maybe we just get castled. Maybe this is just cashing in a bit too early again. Okay, so that's the only downside. But I think we can just reroute this bishop. Just play maybe bishop, not bishop c4 is not possible. Bishop d3. Bishop d3 is okay. Bishop d3, knight b4. Bishop e2 then. Let's play bishop e2 so that we don't run into knight b4. I've still got the nice center. Okay, so bishop b4. So we could just harangue or hassle this bishop. I think that looks good. Pre-move the recapture. Yeah, okay, so this is good for our center again. e5 we meet with d5. I've got the two bishops. I like my position here. Okay, so knight comes to a7. That looks kind of unusual. Can we play c4 now? I mean, what's the idea of this? Isn't it to come out to b5 or something? Can we just play c4 to stop this, and then we've got a huge center? This looks good to me. And bishop... I mean, okay, so attacks the queen. So queen to... Where can we go? Queen, we can go queen d2. We can go queen d3. Queen d3 is maybe a little bit better, because then the queen is protected. Queen is protected anyway, but this way we're not blocking the bishop on c1. So let's see what happens if we play a move like c5. Where's that knight going? Probably going to go back to d7, and then this bishop might have trouble. It might be running out of squares. Other ideas are d5 and knight d4. Bishop g5. Yeah, let's try bishop g5 with tempo. Queen d7 most likely. Queen d7 probably. But that takes away more squares from the bishop. Okay, just plays f6. Didn't expect that. So I think we can just play... What's best here? Do we want to play bishop f4 or bishop e3? Bishop e3 looks pretty nice. Some pressure on this diagonal where there's some pieces lined up. Let's try that. And then soon enough we want to try and play d5. So something like rook b1 and then c5, and then the knight moves and we take on b7. Okay, this is hitting the a3 pawn, getting out of the way of this. So what about now rook fb1 then? Actually the a pawn is protected by the queen, so maybe we play... If we play c5 immediately, c5 immediately. c5 might run into bishop b5. I think it does run into that actually. Okay, so let's try... I like this fb1 move. I mean, d5, ed, cd, I'm gonna play rook fb1 so that I don't have to worry about the a pawn. We're getting on the semi-open file. c5 is possible. I think we have to think about c5, and bishop b5. We then get to capture on b5, and then we get to capture on b6. So that this rook here stops this answer. So c5 might be a threat now. Okay, so it is played, and I really want to take this. If we play this and you take, I think that's okay for me. So let's try and do this now. So c5, if bishop b5, we're going to play rook takes b5. If queen takes c5, okay, he did play it, so we're going to go for this sacrifice as being pretty much forced now. And I guess knight b5 looks good here. Okay, he plays pawn, so takes b6, cb. So look at those pawns, aren't they nice? Okay, so let's get on the open, or actually queen b3 with a hit on the b pawn now. If knight c6, we get to take that off. The d pawn is covered. Alright, so it defends that. Let's get on this c file now. And okay, so let's just trade this off, and then something like h3. The entry squares are covered anyway, so what's the plan? I mean, this knight is pretty awful, so how does he get the knight doing something? Can we play e5 here? Takes, knight takes, looks good for white. Okay, he plays this move. What about d5 now? e5 now. e5, if e5, f5, is that possible? What's happening? You're trying to come in here. We could try to stop that with, or just play this move. I mean, this move. Takes, and take on e6. That looks okay. Where's it coming in? Not sure about this. But I'm going to just trade here. And I think the activity of my pieces and these weak pawns over here will be enough. I mean, rook c2. So we can take this with tempo because it's hitting the knight. So knight, but knight c8. We're forking rook and knight. Of course, I'm very stupid. Okay, so we're just taking this now, and now it's pretty easy. Okay, so we're taking on b5. The knight here is possible. If knight here, okay, let's get this tempo on the king. Okay, with the tempo on the knight. If knight c8, we're going to play bishop c5 on knight c8, bishop c5. Is there something better here, or is this check any good? No, because if knight c8, bishop b5 check, just king e7. So he's thinking a lot here, but yeah, just back to here. We're going to play knight d4. Just want all my pieces in the most active squares, really. Okay, so let's hit the g7 pawn. Okay, okay, what's going on here? Come on, Tim. Running out of time here. Right, knight here. What are we trying to do with this knight? I don't really know. Something like bishop g7 and then knight f8. Running out of time. I've got to check on b5 though now. And actually black might be running out of squares a little bit. Okay, so this is a check here. You've got to come here. Bishop here. And can we just push on now? I mean, okay. This is defending this, so we'll take that off. And then otherwise I'm just going to try and push my d pawn. Okay, let's just try and run with the d pawn now. I'm definitely losing on time here. Okay. Don't have enough time to win. This is annoying. Oof. Okay, so we just won on time whilst failing to give checkmate. Yeah, interesting game. So just if I think about summarizing the game that we played, I felt like White did a good job of keeping control of the position. I think sometimes I I'm more in favour of keeping control of the position, even at the cost of some advantage. So, for example, like trading off queens there into an ending which looks pretty easy to play and to keep control of was my preference, but the computer's clearly saying in this position here that we should be taking um, with the pawn, and it's saying it's like a lot better to take with the pawn, or actually no, it wants to play knight d4, which also makes sense to me. But so I think that was that's one thing to think about. Another thing, but in terms of critical moments, it felt like we had a good pawn center, and then we had this idea of pushing c5 with the pressure down the b file, and then just sort of, as it were, calculating the exchange sacrifice with rook takes b5 in order to remove the defender, and then leaving black with kind of shattered pawn formation. So I think that was a critical moment of the game. But again, running short of time, I'm not sure whether that's an issue, but it feels like most of my games are finishing in time scramble. I mean, it's the same for my opponent, but still, it would be nice to have enough time to finish off and get the checkmate. Okay, thanks very much for watching.